Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined by Pat Fitzmaurice and by Derek Brown. Guys, we are talking one of my favorite episodes to do every single week with you guys, of course, but also every single year we do kind of a preseason version, and that is our biggest questions. We will be doing this as our Friday show like we have for the last couple of seasons. It'll be the three of us running it back again this year, which I am very excited for. This is our second year, I think, doing the sort of preseason version of it, where we take a more macro level view, kind of looking ahead at the whole season, some of our biggest questions that we want answered, and we think answering these will go a long way towards kind of defining the 2025 fantasy season. I want to be clear for everybody, due to some scheduling stuff on my end with family in town, we are taping this several days early. I know sometimes we get called out for that. Typically, it's something we try to avoid. In this case, it is unavoidable with the holiday weekend and just a lot of stuff going on this week. So we are taping this on Wednesday morning. I want to be very specific about that just in case, news changes. Obviously, this is cut down week. There's trades still going on as of this morning that we saw. So with stuff kind of still changing pretty quickly here, I wanted to be very clear just in case between now and when this is released early into next week, if there's anything that's changed. That is why. D-Bro, how you feeling, buddy?
Doing good, man. Yeah, I mean, we're not getting into the news and stuff, but I will just leave it at the so people understand the time stamp of when we're recording this. Some very good news and trades hit, baby. Some wide receiver wheels up this year.
D-Bro and I are doing some other shows later today that he will be, I'm sure, talking a lot more about some of these trades.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Fitz, how about you?
Doing great. Got drafts coming up, and even though, we're recording this early, it's still going to come out when people still have some drafts left, so maybe this can help steer people one way or the other on some players. But man, we're getting really close and just knocking out the final of these drafts. I think I've got one like every night from now until the start of the season. It's crazy.
I've got a lot of mine done. I do have a few, of course, heading into the last weekend, but I do have like a lot of them done. There's not as many kind of in this final week or so that I feel like I usually have, which I actually kind of regret. I wish I had more. I'm like, I don't want to be done with drafts quite yet, so I'm jealous of those who still have a bunch to come. Quick reminder for everybody that all of our 2025 consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. Also, if you haven't seen this kind of iteration of the show before, one of these kind of biggest questions episodes, the reason we do shows like this is because I see my role as host is I get sort of the chance to ask questions that I think our audience would want to ask. These are just kind of like the key questions that I think people are asking us or would want to ask or would want to hear your guys' opinion on. So my goal with the show like this is to come up with 10 questions that I think our listeners, if they had the opportunity to be in a conversation with Pat Fitzmaurice and Derek Brown, would say, hey, what do you think about X, Y, or Z? So let's jump into X, Y, and Z right now. We've got 10 questions coming your way, starting off with, which offensive mastermind is going to make a bigger fantasy impact in year one, Ben Johnson in Chicago or Liam Cohen in Jacksonville? Fitz, I'll start with you.
I'll say Liam Cohen. Two of the best play callers in the game, Liam Cohen and Ben Johnson. By no means is this meant to throw shade at Ben Johnson. I don't have unwavering confidence that the Caleb Williams-Ben Johnson marriage is going to work. I'm optimistic. I don't know for sure. Can Caleb get the ball out quickly? Sometimes it seems like he just isn't wired that way and wants to do things off script. But then there are times when he plays on script and looks amazing. Like the Bears play the Bills in the second week of the preseason, and Caleb's opening drive was just a thing of beauty. Ball out quickly to open receivers, perfect strikes on time. Everything looked great. And now Caleb has an offensive line that should give him the protection he needs to turn every drop back. He's not going to turn every drop back into a scramble drill with this offensive line. But we'll see. I don't like making decisions based on vibes in my fantasy drafts, but there have been some weird vibes with Caleb. Like he and DJ Moore just don't seem to have much chemistry together. I don't know if Caleb can play the way Ben Johnson wants him to play all season. And meanwhile, I'm pretty optimistic about the Jaguars. Liam Cohen worked magic with the running game in Tampa, so someone in that Jacksonville backfield is probably going to be a valuable fantasy asset at a really good price. And maybe it's two of them giving us fantasy relevance. Mm-hmm. The slot receivers in Liam Cohen's offenses always eat, which makes me terrified that I haven't been high enough on Travis Hunter. And maybe Trevor Lawrence finally gives us fantasy numbers befitting a former number one draft pick.
D-Bro, what do you think? I feel like the immediate answer to this question for most people, just based on reputation and how much these guys have been talked about over the last couple of years, would be Ben Johnson. I think he carries the just kind of the heavier, like I said, weight of expectation of like, this guy is the chosen one that's not in the McVay Shanahan tree. He's like the next guy. But Liam Cohen has done a great job at, in multiple stops now. Do you feel like one of them is going to have a stronger impact in year one?
Yeah, I think everybody's going to expect like one of us or both of us should have said Ben Johnson, but I'm with Patty on this one. I think it's Liam Cohen. And this is not like, again, this is not shade against Kaleb Williams, but, I know all the offensive overhaul. The other thing about this is that, like, if we take out, like, zoom out and get the 100-foot view of this, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces to all ask to gel extremely quickly for Ben Johnson. Like, we got 2 rookies, both of which were sidelined for part of camp or part of the preseason because of injuries and what have you. Trying to assimilate to this offense. The quarterback's trying to get on the same page with DJ Moore and all the weapons, and the offensive line needs to gel. So it's like, I'm with Pat. Like, I have some hesitation. I have the entirety of the offseason about all the Ben Johnson's team. And this isn't, again, shade. Like, I know everything he did in Detroit and stuff like that. I still think Dan Campbell doesn't get enough credit for that. But I want to go talk more about Liam Cohen here, because I think the marriage here and Trevor Lawrence, who, dude, everybody talks about, okay, Kaleb Williams had to deal with Shane Waldron. Bro, look at what Trevor Lawrence has had to deal with. It's been terrible head coach, bad offensive designs. The same things you could say for Trevor Lawrence, except it's been happening for longer. And with Liam Cohen now coming into town, I think he's going to give Trevor Lawrence a lot of easy buttons in this offense and a lot of things that are going to help just by offensive design. Like, you look at Jacksonville last year, they were 17th in design target rate. So again, giving Lawrence easy buttons when things break down, or just easy completions in general, versus, come on, man. Like, I mean, again, that number is going to go up with with Jacksonville this year. And then if you look at what he did with, as well as not only the design targets, but also motion, they're going to utilize motion. So whether it's design targets in this offense, a lot of that's going to go to Travis Hunter. Easy buttons for him and Trevor Lawrence. And the motion, there are going to be offensive wrinkles. And you could say the same thing for Chicago. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen, but I think the dearth of that kind of stuff in Jacksonville compared to what we're going to get now with the Jaguars is going to be light years difference for Trevor Lawrence this year.
Yeah, like, I feel really strongly too, like, about that point about it having just been longer going on for Trevor Lawrence, because I feel like a lot of people are just emotionally out on Lawrence and saying, like, listen, like, it's never going to happen. He's a mid quarterback. He's not worth it in fantasy. And I'm like he and Kaleb Williams are both, for the first time, with what we expect to be a strong play calling head coach who can really help them flourish. Just the fact that it took till year 4 or 5 for Lawrence as opposed to year 2 for Kaleb, to me, there's not much of a difference there. Like, I understand logically why people might feel like they've been burned on Lawrence already, but I want to give him this opportunity. Now, if it doesn't work this year, I don't think I'll ever be going back to that well, but I want to give him another chance here, given that this is the first time he's been with a play caller like Liam Cohen. So,
well, and one more thing just before we turn the page on this. Also, I think unanimously we all agree here, vibe check. Like, just how things just feel about Jacksonville and Chicago. Tell me the vibes aren't better for Jacksonville with Liam Cohen, like, versus some of the things we've heard Ben Johnson say and everything around that team. It feels like a total 180 here, like 2 totally different. Like, are y'all in a disagreement? Like, the vibes are definitely better in Jacksonville than Chicago right now? I think that's easy.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm here in the Chicagoland area, and I feel like some of the Bears fans can feel sort of that the vibes are maybe not great with this offense and with Kaleb.
Chicago's one of the most fascinating teams to see, both early in the season and I think how they adapt throughout the season. I'm really curious to see what this team looks like in 2025. Let's go to our next question here. Who is one player that you each feel like you personally have not really talked about on shows this draft season and want to weigh in on? I feel like there are a lot of names that we just kind of gloss over because we're not really debating what their rankings should be. Maybe we have opinions on if they can outperform it or good targets or not. But, we've done a lot of shows together and with other people for the last, several months. And I feel like there are names that stand out that, like, he hasn't really come up on any of the shows I've done. So we'll start with you on this one, Debro. Who is one player that personally you feel like you have not really talked about enough this offseason?
So I know that we talked about him. If anybody has already tuned into the most recent episode of Fantasy Draft Court, we brought him up there. But I want to bring his name up again because I feel like I've come around. I bumped him up in ranks. This isn't recency bias. But I want to talk about Courtland Sutton because I haven't talked about him much this offseason. Like, he's not a name that, like, when we've been building show outlines where I'm just like, oh, must talk about Courtland Sutton today. Like, so I definitely want to get this in before week 1 and people understand, like, I know I'm coming into the party late. I know people have been talking about him all offseason, but I've come around on Courtland Sutton. And part of this is not the heavy target share he saw in the preseason. Part of this is also, and Patty, you've been on this the entirety of the offseason, so giving you flowers here. I did drop Evan Ingram, the 64% route per dropback rate in week 3 of preseason, did sound some alarm bells for a guy like that's going to limit him. And you're going to see, really if he runs in the 60s all year, you're seeing a Dalton Kincaid kind of situation. I hope that that's not the case and I remain above consensus. But again, all roads lead back to Courtland Sutton, where if Ingram's not a full 80 to 90% dropback player, they're running in Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims opposite of Sutton. Sutton still is the clear wide receiver 1, where I looked at this previously this offseason and said, dude, if Evan Ingram steps up next to him, it's going to impact Sutton, where I've flipped how I'm looking at this situation. And I'm like, well, dude, Sutton is the clear 1 here. And we should all feel good about that because when Bo Nix was really good last year, Courtland Sutton was humming along as a strong wide receiver 2 in fantasy, as the wide receiver 20 in fantasy points per game. You look at every single per route metric, he was top 22 in basically everything you could pull up. And then if you zoom out even more, the volume that he got and the role that he had, he was wide receiver 9 in expected fantasy points per game. So if Nix in this offense take a step forward and Courtland Sutton is still the preferred guy when they get in near the red zone, and he is the clear number 1 option and the only full-time option, he could be a wide receiver 1 this year that you're drafting as a wide receiver 2. Heck, maybe in some rooms because of the sexy names and how news is going and stuff like that, you might be able to get him on some teams, especially if you go wide receiver heavy early, as a wide receiver 3. If he has that type of season, he could define some leagues this year.
His real-time ADP is actually his wide receiver 24, so that is obviously very close to, and it's like a spot. It's actually less than a spot, according to real-time ADP, ahead of DJ Moore at wide receiver 25 and McMillan at wide receiver 26. So the point is that he is very much, it is possible that he could be a wide receiver 3 the way he is drafted.
Oh, he will be, because with the news, like, Tet's going to hop him. Tet will hop him in ADP.
He is, interestingly, the name, like, not the only name that I thought fit this category, of course, but he was actually the first one I thought of when I was coming up with this question. Was like, I feel like I have not mentioned Courtland Sutton's name on any show this year, so that's interesting that he's the one that you pick, and I think he's a great fit for this category. Like I said, for all the reasons that you kind of laid out. Fitz, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm more bearish on Sutton than Debro is. His best career finish in fantasy PPR fantasy points per game is wide receiver 26, and he had a pretty deep average depth of target last year of 13.3, I think it was. And, like Bo Nix is a guy who I think is maybe more comfortable throwing short than long. But Sutton, like, dominated the deep targets last year. Is that still going to be the case if, like, Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin are getting these bumps in playing time like it looks like they will this year? Because those guys are both faster than Courtland Sutton and can get downfield maybe a little quicker than Courtland Sutton can. I don't know. I think he's being, like, I have no beef with his price. I just don't think he's like a screaming buy with where he's going right now.
Maybe ran a little hot with touchdowns to end the season too. Like, I know he was doing other stuff. I don't want to make it seem like he was just a touchdown merchant, but there were a lot of touchdowns in there. I felt like every week he was getting one. So maybe that is some, like, subconscious expected regression from people, and that's why they're not talking about him as much. I'm not sure if that plays into it as well. But, Deeper, you kind of mentioned, like, if he maintains his red zone role, then, that's a path to being really profitable where he is.
I will also mention, so I went back yesterday and I watched all the All-22 for Marvin Mims in the preseason because I was like, look, like, dude, if he's going to be the full-time wide receiver in this offense, then, okay, what's that going to look like? I'm not in on Marvin Mims at all. I think his role in the preseason, dude was running a lot of clear routes, a lot of stuff where he was running deep to create space for screens and other players. He wasn't the first read outside of, I think it was 1, maybe 2 screen targets. So it's like, I don't think that he has a high-calorie role in this offense. So Marvin Mims isn't even honestly in the equation for me. I do see that, like, where Pat's coming from with if there were any threats to Courtland Sutton in this offense, I would say it's Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant. It's not Marvin Mims for me.
Fitz, what player did you pick for this?
Well, it seems like Debro and I haven't beefed enough on these guys because we also talked about this guy at Draft Court, and we hadn't really talked about him much all season. And Worm, it'll be good to have you in on this convo because it's Mark Andrews if you're Baltimore Ravens.
I knew you were going there. I knew it.
Yeah, it's so I don't know. I just think he's a bad bet. And I never want to bet on the repetition of a big touchdown season. And if you strip away the 11 touchdowns the Mark Andrews had last year, like, things were pretty bad. 3.2 catches and 39.6 yards a game. His worst numbers in those categories since his rookie year in 2018. And there was not a single game last year in which Mark Andrews reached 70 receiving yards. And there were only 4 games where he had 60 or more yards. Like, remember how people were dropping Mark Andrews early last year, but then we got the touchdown avalanche and everyone was like,
not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, we did get the touchdown avalanche, and that was great. The people with patience, it paid off. And I know Andrews might not have been at full capacity early last year. He had the season-ending injury in 2023, then the car accident last summer. But I think we should heed the drop-off in catches and yardage and steer away from this rather shaky fantasy profile. He plays on a run-heavy team. He shares targets with a really good tight end on his own team in Isaiah Likely. Like, Tucker Kraft is going a full round after Mark Andrews in drafts, according to FantasyPros real-time ADP. Tyler Warren is going a round and a half later. Those guys have big-time upside, and they are trending up for their careers. Mark Andrews is trending in the opposite direction. Like, pass on Andrews and take an exciting young tight end a round or 2 later.
Patty, could I go ahead, Worm?
Well, I was just going to say that it sounds like, based on the fact that you guys debated this, that Debro is going to lean closer to my side, which is a pro Mark Andrews side, which I actually wasn't early in the offseason. I have become a much more pro Mark Andrews drafter later. I do want to quickly say I actually really like the strategy of waiting and getting Tucker Kraft and Tyler Warren. I think those guys are great values that I want to be targeting late. I think they are real breakout opportunity, investments at the tight end position. So it's not that I disagree with that sentiment, Fitz, but I do think of the other names in this range, Hockenson, Kelsey, Ingram, guys like that, I think Andrews has a really strong case to be at the top of that tier relative to where those guys are going, in drafts as sort of that middle class of tight end for a lot of reasons that I'm excited to hear Debro lay out.
Yeah, so Fitzy, I will say after our convo on Fantasy Draft Court, I did go back to Mark Andrews, and I'm going to counterpoint and push back a little bit here. So weeks 10 through 18, I talked about in that episode how Mark Andrews bounced back, all the efficiency metrics, everything looked great. He had a 60% route per dropback rate. I do think that climbs this year, assuming health with Isaiah Likely. Also probably, I don't even know if we see a healthy version of Likely for the entirety of this season. But a 66% route per dropback rate, I think that at least climbs back into the 70s, maybe a tad higher. But at weeks 10 through 18, Fitzy, you talked about the yardage and stuff. Can I interest you in a player that in the back half of the season that was on pace for 816 receiving yards, and that would have placed him as 6th most last year if he'd have done that for the entire season, Fitzy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I get the arguments against. I just think he has at least one more good season left in him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really the age. So he turns 30 next week. So I don't think it's an age cliff thing. I mean, he's a lot younger than Travis Kelce. I get it. I mean, they're just...
he's younger than Worm, so he's still got some age on him.
There were just not needle-moving games with the yardage, and he didn't do much in the playoffs for them last year either. It's just, I don't know.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah. Oh, well, obviously there was. Yeah. So I'm not digging it. I'm not feeling it with Mark Andrews.
I feel like here's my thing with Mark Andrews, because you talked about the touchdowns, Fitz, and we'll go a little quicker on some of these later questions. I don't see where the touchdowns are going to go. Unless you think that DeAndre Hopkins is coming in and catching 12 touchdowns. Like, we still expect this. All the offseason, like, ranking of the top 10 offenses in football, this was either 1 or 2 in every ranking. You know, Lamar Jackson is coming off his best season ever. He's still in his prime. Yes, they are still going to rush for a lot of touchdowns, but Derrick Henry did that last year, and there was still plenty to go around for everybody else. Like, even if the passing numbers come down a bit, there's still so many to go around, and I don't think they're ever going to go to Zay Flowers. That's not the way he's used. Isaiah Likely he has this injury. They don't have any incentive to rush him back. This is a team that only cares about January, and maybe they'll end up being to their detriment this season. We'll see. But like, this is not a team that is overly concerned about what their record is at the end of September. It's about making it to the Super Bowl. So I don't think they're going to like push him back, even if he's on the field giving him this crazy usage. So like, I do think there's a runway here for Andrews if he is like much healthier than he was a year ago going into the season. Isaiah Likely isn't this huge thorn in his side, at least early on. He's still the clear number one, I think, red zone target when they pass the ball. Like, I think the touchdowns are still going to be there. I think it would take an injury for him to be, like, taking a significant step back in the touchdown department.
All right, but Lamar's 41 touchdowns last year were a career high by 5. And in 17 more than he had in 2023. He only averaged a touchdown and a half throwing per game in 2023, less than that in 2022 and 2021. So I guess I disagree with the notion that there's automatically going to be a touchdown bonanza to go around for the pass catchers on the Ravens. And, I don't know, Bateman, Flowers, they're going to get some. So we'll see. I mean, wouldn't totally shock me if Mark Andrews got to double digits again, but like if that's what you're basing drafting him on, the expectations of a big touchdown season, I just feel like that's a house of cards.
I think the touchdown regression will hit Lamar, but I think if I'm looking at outlier kind of players where I think once they get in the red zone, I think it's very clear to me that the ball is either going to Derrick Henry and they're going to run it in, or it's going to Andrews. I think the obvious touchdown regression candidate for me in that offense, and I do think that Lamar, his passing touchdown rate has to drop some this year. I do think that it's probably going to be Rashad Bateman that feels that squeeze.
You can get in the game. Best Ball is live at DraftKings. $15 million is on the line with real stakes and real excitement. Best Ball is the biggest fantasy contest at DraftKings. We're talking a $15 million guaranteed prize pool with 2 millionaires being crowned for first and second place. Play season-long fantasy football the DraftKings way. With Best Ball, there's no waiver wires and no roster management. You get bigger rosters, so injuries won't end your season. Just draft your team and you're set. If a shot at winning a share of $15 million isn't enough to get you excited, check this out. DraftKings is offering everyone a Draft One, Get One special. Your $20 entry fee scores you a bonus ticket. Download the DraftKings app and use code FantasyPros. That's code FantasyPros for all customers who enter the NFL Best Ball $15 million millionaire contest to get a bonus ticket and get a shot at being crowned one of 2 millionaires. Only on DraftKings. Next question here, guys. Fitz, besides the Bengals, who is this year's Bengals? A high-octane offense, bad defense, sort of circus team that will bring us a lot of fantasy goodness.
I'm going to get 2 different answers here. Go to Debro first for this one, and I can answer whichever team he doesn't. I know he's going to pick one of the two.
You know the team I'm probably going to go with. You know,
I think I do.
Dude, it's the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the easy answer. I tweeted this out a few weeks ago. Regardless of whatever happens with Micah Parsons, if he gets traded, then dude, it's wheels up. But this is so predictable. Like, we know Dallas is going to pass the ball. Look at the running back room. Look at the players that they added this offseason. Like, if Dak Prescott is healthy, this is going to be an offense. It's probably going to be top 5 in passing attempts. It's a consolidated target tree. It says, dude, everything's there. You got CeeDee Lamb as the alpha. He's going to challenge Jamar Chase as the wide receiver 1 overall. George Pickens is this year's T. Higgins. Jake Ferguson can absolutely be a top 12 tight end, and everybody can eat in this offense.
Fitz, was that, I assume, one of the picks?
That was one of the picks. The other is the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh, baby!
So let me quickly say before you dive in, Fitz, that I was thinking ahead. I was like, I think the Cowboys are like the poor man's Bengals. I think the Panthers are the very poor man's Bengals. I do think, like, if the Cowboys are the poor man's Bengals, I think the Panthers are the poor man's Cowboys. So I love that you picked this team.
Dude, I didn't see this coming, but I'm here for it. Oh, damn it, Fitzy, I'm here for it.
Bad defense, a team that's going to have to win games, like try to win games by scoring 30 points. A trusted play caller with Dave Canellis, who seemed to, like, his work with Bryce Young seemed to kick in late last year when Bryce Young was really good down the stretch. Tetairoa McMillan, we have an alpha receiver coming in to smash, and Debro and I are both way above consensus on him.
Yes, sir.
So long, Adam Thielen. The Cokeheads are out in full force for Jalen Coker. They're even more energized than usual. I think he could surprise people. And we like this backfield. Like, I know Chuba Hubbard is not like this traditional, like, super skilled running back, but man, he was good last year. This offensive line is terrific. They gave Chuba like a nice new contract. Like, I think there are 3 or 4 potentially really nice pieces in this offense, and like this could be a high scoring unit this year. It's like, it's so strange to say that about the Panthers, but like this could be a pretty potent offense.
To lay on top of what Fitzy laid out there, just real quickly, when Bryce Young was in his bag last year, they were 13th in neutral passing rate and 4th in red zone passing rate. So, like, the volume also could be there to support this.
Yep.
I think one point to put a ball on it, because I didn't mention this in kind of defining this year's Bengals, is the concentrated usage. We know, well, I mean, I get, like, McMillan's a rookie, like, we haven't seen it yet, but, like, generally speaking, we know where the ball is going to go. And we think this is going to be a team that has to score a lot and, you know, keep up with the defense, and that, you know, maybe take a step forward in terms of just, like, development with Bryce Young, like, all that stuff. Like, I think the Panthers are a great pick. And I think the Cowboys are a great pick too, honestly. Like these, they're in different tiers of where you have to draft the players on these teams, which is nice. Because you can invest in both offenses you can invest in all 3 offenses, Bengals, Cowboys, and Panthers, pretty easily this season, just depending on where you're making your picks. And I think that's a really viable strategy.
Man, that's such a good call, Fitzy. I love that call so much. Yeah. Didn't see it coming either.
Well, let's go to the flip side of that question. Who will be this year's most disappointing NFL team for fantasy? And I'm going to say, like, non-injury reasons, because obviously any team can be disappointing. For injury reasons, I'm kind of thinking of last year, like this year's, you know, Texans, which did have injuries, but, like, the offensive line was a big reason why there was disappointment for guys like C.J. Stroud. So, again, that one isn't a perfect fit because there was injuries involved in that. But teams that for non-injury reasons you are really worried about. Fitz, you can go first on this one.
Yeah, I'm going back to the Texans, and it's for non-injury reasons. Like, the offensive line was terrible last year, and the offseason repairs to that unit probably weren't adequate. I mean, the offensive line was bad, and they proceeded to trade away their best offensive lineman right away.
And Cam Robinson's on the trade block right now.
Yeah, I mean, the backfield is a mess. Joe Mixon is hurt. Nick Chubb might never be the same post-injury. I don't think Woody Marks or Dameon Pierce are capable of being pleasant surprises since they're going to work behind this bad offensive line. And since the Houston defense is probably going to be really good, the Texans' pass rate probably won't be very high. C.J. Stroud was just thwarted by that bad offensive line last year and might be again. Like, Nico Collins is terrific, but he might be the only Texan worth drafting in fantasy. I don't want any of the other pass catchers in redraft. Like, I like Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins in Dynasty, but, like, redraft, no thank you. Christian Kirk, no thank you. I just don't think any of them are going to be startable on a weekly basis.
Debro, I've been ranking Nico Collins above consensus. I just love the player so much, and I want to believe in C.J. Stroud and everything. If there is a hesitation there, a concern for me, it is the offensive line, which could ruin. I mean, that could ruin everything. So, is this you sounded somewhat surprised by the pick. Is this a pick that you disagree with?
I mean, I'm higher on Houston than Fitzy is. I mean, I just think we're going to see a bounce back by Stroud based off of the weapons. I feel like everything, regardless, not even just the offensive line, like everything that could have went wrong, like losing Tank Dell right when Tank Dell looked like he was coming on, losing Stephon Diggs right when he looked like he was getting comfortable, Nico Collins being hurt for multiple parts of the year. I think it all just came down to, and their depth at the wide receiver position just got eviscerated, and they didn't have guys that could get open besides them. So, like, I'm higher on Houston and the C.J. Stroud bounce back. The team that I think is glaringly obvious for me is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Outside of Kaleb Johnson and a volume bet, I don't want anything to freaking do with this offense, man. You got Aaron Rodgers running around like he's like the poster boy for Cialis commercials right now. Like it's like how is he going to operate? Like the one thing that like in this Steelers, like this marriage of Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers, it feels like something where it's just going to go terribly wrong by week 7. Like Aaron Rodgers is going to be on Pat McAfee sitting here throwing like not so quiet shade at Arthur Smith and stuff like that. And because you look at what Aaron Rodgers has done throughout the entirety of his career, this isn't just like a take of like the last year or 2 years or whatever. It's that he wants to operate in shotgun. Okay, Arthur Smith likes to be under center, likes to boot out. You see Aaron Rodgers doing a lot of booting these days? Not so much. You see Aaron Rodgers also that it's been a lot of 11 personnel. He sees the field how he wants to have it. And that's not an Arthur Smith thing. It's condensed formations. It's 12 personnel. It's a 21 personnel. So, like, how is this marriage? Somebody's got to give. How is this marriage going to work? And then you add in all the other personalities on the Steelers, DK Metcalf, if he's not getting targets. When was the last time we actually saw a good wide receiver? And we're doing the same freaking thing with DK Metcalf that we did last year with George Pickens. We did the previous seasons with Tennessee, where it's like the only wide receiver we've seen buck the trend and be actually good in an Arthur Smith offense is A.J. Brown, and everybody else has disappointed us. And then we haven't even talked about tight ends here. Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, both capsized by that move. Both of them are not going to run enough routes, not going to get enough targets to be fantasy viable outside of tight end 2 or streaming options unless there's an injury. And then my favorite son, everybody's favorite son over the last few years in efficiency metrics, Jaylen Warren. Kaleb Johnson is going to be in the Najee role, so everybody that believes that Jaylen Warren is going to take over and be the workhorse back, I'm sorry, but Pittsburgh is telling you very loudly that's not going to happen. So outside of the volume bet with Kaleb Johnson, count me out on this freaking offense. This could be a dumpster fire by week 7 where it is all personalities and parts or pieces are squawking in the media and fighting and nothing is going right.
This is like in Animal House when he's like, no, he's on a roll. Just let him go. Like, I'm just like letting you keep going. The whole time I just wanted to be like, they can't disappoint me because I have no expectations for the Steelers. Like, I think Tom Brady broke everybody's brains with what to expect for a 42-year-old quarterback. Like, I just don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be good enough to support a strong fantasy season from this team. So, like everything you said was very great and smart and correct, but, like, I don't even have the expectations to be let down by this Steelers team. Fitz, any thoughts on the Steelers?
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. And, yeah, like even we'll have more on the Steelers a little later.
Ooh,
I promise.
It's a professional tease. Love it.
All right, let's go to our next question then. Pick one tight end each outside Tier 1, which Tier 1 is Bowers, McBride, and Kittle, who will finish with more fantasy points this season than at least one of Bowers, McBride, or Kittle. So this is not a tight end that we think will be ranked in Tier 1 next year. It could be. That's not the point of the question. The question is a tight end who this year will finish with more fantasy points than one of those elite 3 guys. D-Bro, who you got?
I mean, dude, any tight end that we pick right now, outside of maybe some Sam Laporta love, is going to sound like a hot take. And I know I might be taking Fitzy's guy here, but I think the answer is Tucker Kraft. If this all comes together and Matt LaFleur says, best player on a per route basis, matchup nightmare, physical freak that I need to feature in my offense and make him the focal point of the offense, I'm sorry, Packer fans, it's not Matthew Golden. It's freaking Tucker Kraft, dude. Like, he was 20th in target share and 27th in first read share last year. Didn't stop freaking Tucker Kraft from being top 12 and hold on, let me catch my breath here for a second because it's going to be long. Yards per route run, missed tackles forced, yards after catch per reception. Oh, and design target rate, he's second best amongst tight ends. So you're telling me all these wonderful efficiency metrics and a player in his prime that could step forward and maybe, because this is the special sauce to where a tight end can leap over those guys, lead his team in targets. It might sound crazy, but the real answer is freaking Tucker Kraft here.
Fitz,
as a Packers fan, did you also go with Kraft, or did you go in a different direction?
Different direction, but I like that call. It could be Tucker Kraft. But we've seen rookie tight ends lead
I
in
knew you were going there.
PPR
I knew you were
fantasy
going there.
scoring the last 2
Dude,
years.
Fitzy.
Sam Laporta in 2023, Brock Bowers 2024. How about Tyler Warren in 2025? By all accounts, Warren had a great training camp, and in the preseason, he played nearly every snap with the starters. He is not going to come off the field very often. And we're talking about a player who had 1,400 yards from scrimmage and 13 touchdowns last season at Penn State, including 4 touchdown runs and a touchdown pass. Like, he's a former high school quarterback. Like, they hand him the ball. They just want the ball in this dude's hand because he is a monster. Like, he is George Kittle with the ball in his hands, just like does not want to be tackled. And I think he could be a fantasy monster from the get-go.
If George Kittle and Taysom Hill had a baby, his name would be Tyler Warren.
Why do you have to bring Taysom Hill into this, D-Bro?
Bro, because of his usage. If his usage, like,
I guess, yes,
it is going to be the gif on
passes.
social media the entire
That's
year, and he can pass.
That's true.
When he throws a freaking passing touchdown, dude.
All right, a better, more athletic version of Taysom Hill. Well, maybe not more athletic, but a better.
I mean, there's something to be said. He might actually be the best quarterback on that roster right now.
Yeah. For anybody who still has a draft to come up as of the time they're listening to this, I want to really emphasize that, like, the tight ends we are talking about repeatedly on this show and on a lot of recent shows are outside of the elite tier are Tucker Kraft and Tyler Warren. Like, I can't really emphasize enough that, in my opinion, the best strategy at the position. And I actually, a guy like Mark Andrews, like, if he does have a good, touchdown season, maybe he could be the answer to this question. Like, there are other names that are somewhat interesting, but your strategy should be either you're comfortable spending up to get one of the big three, or please target Tucker Kraft or Tyler Warren. Those are the two guys, if you are waiting at the position, to go after. I feel very strongly about that, and the fact that those are the two names that these guys came up with, I think is very fitting for that, because I think
I knew Fitzy was going with Warren, and I was like, I want to hear it, man.
And to be clear, it's like we are far from the only people touting Tucker Kraft and Tyler Warren. It's kind of a wisdom of crowd things with, like, the people who like study fantasy and everything and are into it. It's just like these guys are better bets, I think, than some of the Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce's. More bang for the buck at their respective prices, and we're starting to see it, I think, reflected in ADP and home league drafts. These guys have both come up, but I still think they're value priced.
Agreed.
Speaking of bang for the buck, who is the single best value at any position in drafts this season, Fitz?
Oh, man. One of the things I am trying to accomplish in the drafts I have remaining is to get myself some J.K. Dobbins. And I am not throwing shade at Derek Brown's guy, R.J. Harvey. You know I like Harvey.
I hope not, because he's my name for this one. So we're just going to talk about the
kidding.
backfield.
We're just sticking in this backfield.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're just going to talk about the backfield. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, we know Sean Payton's backfields have traditionally given us 2 or more useful fantasy assets. And I think that's going to be the case again this year. Like, think back to Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. And, I know it's a stretch to put R.J. Harvey in the Alvin Kamara role, but, like, Dobbins, I think, could very easily fit into the Mark Ingram role. Like, he probably does come with an elevated injury risk, sure, but, man, if he's healthy, Dobbins is going to give us 1,000 combined yards from scrimmage, a good number of touchdowns, a good number of catches, and right now he's going RB 33, 95 overall. So, like, sign me up at that price.
What if
so
this
just
is
to,
the
just
dollar
to let everybody know
store?
the real-time ADP for these guys right now, yes, RB 33 on J.K. Dobbins, and this is as of the day we're recording this, just in case anything changes. R.J. Harvey, RB 22. So, D-Bro, why are you all in on Harvey?
I just don't, for the entirety of this offseason, I cannot wrap my head around why we continue to rank R.J. Harvey as an RB2. I don't. What in the heck in Sean Payton's history makes anyone think that, like, we can't project this backfield? Like, I understand, and I feel like this is all recency. I feel like this is all people were burned by Jaleel McLaughlin. I was there. Hi. With you. They were burned by Javonte Williams. 2 years in a row. I get that. Do you not all remember Alvin Kamara? Do you not all remember Mark Ingram? Do you not all remember Reggie Bush? Do you not all remember every other running back in the Saints' history that crushed in this system? Religiously, we can go back, and not every single coach, We can tell you that Sean Payton, regardless of who is back there, is going to feed targets to the running back position. J.K. Dobbins is not a pass catcher. Can he beat Mark Ingram in this offense? Sure, let's go. But who is going to catch passes in this offense? Dude, they are designing up screens in the preseason. If anybody is sitting here taking notice and actually watching any of the film, for guys like R.J. Harvey. They had 2 different plays where they had guys running clear outs and had Harvey on the underneath with 10 yards in front of him, and Bo Nix sailed the screen both time. Both of those things get completed and R.J. Harvey rips off like 15 to 20 yards or something like that. People would be giving more respect to his name. I don't understand it. I haven't understood it the entirety of the offseason. I know it seems like I am insane and out of my mind by ranking him as an RB1. It's not going to look insane this year when he's catching passes out of the backfield. This is a top 5 offense in the NFL, and the touchdowns are going through the backfield. And everybody's like, man, you know what? We flip over the cards at week 5. And people are like, we really should have been drafting R.J. Harvey as an RB1. It's crazy, I know, because it never happens when we get to week 5 or week 6 in the season. And everybody says, geez, everything's so different than what I thought in pre-draft season. It's so crazy. Except it's not. And you could see the signal, and you could see this coming. I really don't understand it.
So let's go to our next question, which is, which rookie are you least interested in drafting at cost this season? Clearly, the answer is not going to be R.J. Harvey for Debro, as he is very high on him, and Fitz, J.K. Dobbins is not a rookie, but like high on that same backfield. So Fitz, when you look at the rookies, the anti-J.K. Dobbinses, who are you least interested in drafting at cost?
Kaleb Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going RB27, early 7th round, just behind Aaron Jones. Like, Kaleb Johnson he's been playing behind Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell in the preseason. I don't necessarily think that's going to last very long, but remember how Arthur Smith held down Bijan Robinson's value in Atlanta? And Kaleb Johnson is by no means the prospect that Bijan was. Caleb's a good prospect, but like, I don't want to ride the Arthur Smith running back merry-go-round again. And also, like, I don't even know if there's that much touchdown upside because Aaron Rodgers really likes to throw it when they're inside the 5-yard line. So I'm just out on Kaleb Johnson.
Debro, I know that like Kaleb Johnson is somebody that you liked a lot during the draft process. Obviously, the fit in terms of stylistically in this offense is really appealing. Are you with Fitz, though, that just given the offense in general, this might not be the best investment?
No, I mean, I'm still in on Kaleb Johnson where he's going. I'm actually still above consensus just because I think it's the volume bet, the touchdown bet. I think that, and look, I'm not telling you that I'm over the moon and I want to deal with Arthur Smith buffoonery because we know we're going to get it in some shape, form, or fashion or multiple ways. But I think Kaleb Johnson's still a really good bet. The guy for me, and the easy answer for this is Colston Loveland. Looking at that offense, all the different target competition, missing part of camp, he's still got to deal with Cole Kmet. Like, for me, like, I look at him and I just see, even in the best case of circumstances, unless there are injuries. Now, injuries could open up the pathway, and yes, okay, could it crush me? If everybody stays healthy in this offense, I don't see him breaking out in his rookie season. I see more of a scenario of Dalton Kincaid where he's locked into like a 60% route share, and we're talking about him next year as being like, well, DJ Moore might be moving on, and and like, could he be the guy then? I don't see this as being the season to get Colston Loveland. Like, fine, he's going as a tight end too. There are guys that I will draft over Colston Loveland at his cost. Like, give me Hunter Henry. Give me, if we're going to go basement level, like just a clear, easy path to volume, give me Mason Taylor over freaking Colston Loveland this year. I just don't see it. Outside of injuries, I don't see where he carves out a significant enough target share in this offense and gets enough routes to crush me.
So we picked some rookies that are not like buried in ADP, but like are a little lower than some of the bigger names of the position. So I just wanted to kind of clarify for both of you guys that we are interested in drafting even where they are going, which is pretty aggressive for a few of these guys. Some of these like bigger name rookies, like obviously R.J. Harvey for you, Debro, but like Tetairoa McMillan is going, higher and higher. Guys like O'Marion Hampton have moved up with the Najee Harris stuff. Obviously, Ashton Genty was already going high. Travion Henderson has had 100 million. I was going to say Egbuka and Matthew Golden has moved up a bit. Like there's a lot of these rookies have had a lot of steam, and the fact that you guys didn't pick those rookies that maybe have a little bit more helium than the names you picked is that reflective of the fact that you are, Debro, interested in investing in those guys?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the steam on those guys is absolutely justified. Like, as much as like Buka and even real-time ADP, like he keeps going up and up and up and up. Like, if you literally were just watching the trend on real-time ADP, it's like, I mean, that's fine. That is perfectly fine. Like, I will chase him up the board and some of these other players. I have no issues with that.
All right, let's go to a quarterback question here. We got a couple of them before we finish the episode. Debro's favorite late QB is J.J. McCarthy. Pat's is Drake Maye. Mine is Jordan Love. So I want us to each make the case for our guy. Fitz, you can go first here with Drake Maye.
Oh, I get to do the Drake Maye sales pitch one more time. Awesome.
Do the dance, baby.
Yeah, so Drake Maye started 12 games as a rookie, left one game in the second quarter with a concussion, and in meaningless Week 18 played 3 snaps before getting pulled. In the other 10 starts, he averaged 17.4 fantasy points per game, which would have been QB 13 among quarterbacks in points per game, guys who made more than one start anyway. So if we exclude that Week 18 game where he was pulled after one series, he averaged 36.3 rushing yards per start. That projects to 616 rushing yards over a full season. But there is meat on the bone with regard to Drake Maye's rushing potential because nearly all of his rushing yardage came on scrambles. He had one designed run last season. Alex Van Pelt, the Patriots OC last year, he just said, he limited designed runs for Maye to protect him. So now it's Josh McDaniels running the Patriots offense. And a few months ago, like Nate Tice of Yahoo went back and looked at the design runs that McDaniels drew up for 31-year-old Cam Newton when Cam was starting for the Patriots in 2020. There were a lot of them. They were really effective. Cam had 12 touchdown runs that year. Maye only had 2 TD runs last year, but as the 2-year starter at North Carolina in college, 16 touchdown runs in 26 starts. And as a sophomore, Maye had 698 rushing yards in 14 games. College QBs get sack yardage deducted from their rushing totals. Maye lost about 200 yards in sacks that year. So he was really closer to 900 rushing yards in 14 games. Like, there is some big-time rushing upside with Drake Maye, and he also looked good as a passer last year, even though his offensive line and wide receiver core were both really bad. And those areas have been upgraded. Like, I think he is the late-round QB to draft this year, and sort of this year's Jaden Daniels. I know Jaden Daniels was a rookie and Maye is a second-year guy, but he's kind of the Jaden Daniels of this year, a guy who's going as sort of a low-end QB1, high-end QB2, and has high-end QB1 upside.
I love Drake Maye a ton. I could have easily picked him for my pick here. I knew you were gonna want to because you have him inside your top 10.
Fitzy would have fought you.
Yeah, I would never do that. Yeah. But we've been hand holding on Drake Maye really the entire offseason, both on redraft shows and on the Dynasty show. I've said before, if I had to pick one quarterback outside the top 6 or 8 who not is going to finish as a QB1 but as the QB1, I wouldn't bet on it, but if I had to pick one, I would pick Drake Maye. I think he has the best poor man's Josh Allen potential of any quarterback that is going late if things break right, and things might not. There is, I think, a low floor there. I mean, the rushing raises the floor, but in general, just the situation and I think there's a real world where he doesn't reach that ceiling, but I think the ceiling is pretty inarguable against almost everybody else. Debro, your guy from the very beginning, who I would never take from you in the same vein, is J.J. McCarthy.
Dude, it's just, again, it's an easy case to be made, man. Look, we saw freaking Sam Darnold be QB9. If you take out the final week of the season, he's actually QB8 in fantasy points per game. I mean, the system is fantastic. He's whether you want to talk about Kevin O'Connell, what he's going to do as an offensive play caller, you want to talk about all the parts or pieces and them continuing to add to it with recent trades. The offensive line is upgraded. And the big thing with J.J. McCarthy that I want to push back here is this faulty, ridiculous narrative that I keep hearing. And I don't know what it's actually based off of. When people are like, you do know that Kevin O'Connell is going to run the ball more this year. Because of what? Based off of what in his history would tell anybody that that's actually going to happen? What, the addition of Jordan Mason? Come on. That's more of an addition to keep Aaron Jones healthy and to let him thrive in the passing game and take the volume off of a player that they know the injury risk is real. That's more of an indictment on Ty Chandler than it has anything to do to say about how KOC is going to design an offense. For a guy that has been calling plays in the NFL for 6 years, in 4 of those seasons has ranked top 12. His offenses have ranked top 12 in passing attempts. With Minnesota, this is KOC's ranking in neutral passing rate, 8th, 3rd, and 5th. So somebody please tell me an actual analytical argument outside of the addition of Jordan Mason that should make anybody believe that the Minnesota Vikings are going to go run heavy this year, because I don't see it. And this all goes back to J.J. McCarthy. He's going to get the volume. He's got the supporting cast. He has the offensive play caller. And he has the talent to be a QB1 this year.
J.J. McCarthy, real-time ADP, QB 19. Drake May, QB 16.
Ridiculous. Both of those are a slap in the face. Just saying it.
Yeah. Jordan Love is QB 17, which I know, Debro, you are lower than consensus on in your ranking, so you're not going to disagree with it. I think that's too low. I think Jordan Love is getting kind of forgotten just because he had some injuries that he was dealing with last season. He was a top 5 quarterback in fantasy scoring as a 24-year-old the year prior to last. He's now still only 26. It wouldn't surprise me if he's still getting better. He now has a first-round wide receiver that has apparently looked pretty good this summer at camp and everything. He is with Matt LaFleur, who is an offensive play caller I really believe in. I just don't. I find myself struggling to say, well, I definitely want to invest in Jaden Reed, or I definitely want to invest in Tucker Kraft, or I definitely want to invest in Matthew Golden. I'd rather just get the guy distributing the ball, and he's young enough, talented enough, in a good enough offense that I think, and even last year with the injury stuff, he was QB 17, which is where he's going now. So, I think the ceiling is a top 5 quarterback because we've literally seen him do it before, and I think he could be taking another step forward. So, I'm very willing to invest in all these guys, truthfully. At cost, it's why quarterback is so insanely deep, because you can get these 3 guys at 16, 17, and 19 at the position. But yeah, that's why I would make the case for Love. But really, any of these guys, I think are strong investments. I want to tell everybody about Draft Assistant. Draft Assistant connects directly to your draft and provides both real-time pick suggestions and estimations on which players might get taken before your next pick. Draft Assistant fully integrates your customized cheat sheets and suggests picks based on your rankings, team build, ADP, and other factors. Dominate your draft in real time without the guesswork with Draft Assistant at fantasypros.com/assistant or on the Fantasy Pros app. Try it for free during your draft by claiming your 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. All right, guys, we have 2 questions left. Got to get out of here shortly, so we'll go quickly. Nobody really considers Patrick Mahomes an elite fantasy quarterback anymore, but he was still top 12 at the position in his last 2 down seasons. And, of course, we know what the ceiling has been in the past. Are we downplaying too much the possibility that this Chiefs offense looks closer to their past explosive selves with year 2 Xavier Worthy, Josh Simmons possibly solidifying left tackle, then coming back with a vengeance after the Super Bowl embarrassment, all that stuff? I do want to note, and this will be possibly old news for everybody by the time they're hearing this, as of this morning, Adam Schefter did tweet that the NFL is aiming for at least a potential 6-game suspension for Rashee Rice. The suspension would kick in at the start of the season. This is still very early. Obviously, this has gone a bunch of different directions throughout the course of the offseason. That's just as of the most recent thing. So Rashee Rice could change this answer, but I still wanted to ask the question, even though we might have different information coming up soon. Fitz, do you think we are maybe underrating Patrick Mahomes, or at least the ceiling of Patrick Mahomes this season?
I do think we are underestimating the ceiling of Mahomes, and it's funny. We have him with real-time ADP. He's going in the 5th round, but I got him at 706 in a home league draft last weekend. And Patrick Mahomes' yearly fantasy finishes in points per game among quarterbacks with at least 6 starts since becoming a starter in 2018, QB1, QB6, QB1, QB5, QB2, QB11, QB11. Mahomes is drafted QB6 this year, which is fine. That's where he should be. He is behind that big 5 tier. And people are nervous about paying up for another QB11 season. But let's look at what's changed. Mahomes has multiple weapons at wide receiver again. Rashee Rice is healthy. He'll miss some time when the NFL inevitably suspends him at the end of September, but he's going to play a majority of regular season games and keep turning those easy completions into 15 and 20-yard gains. Xavier Worthy, who had 50 catches over the Chiefs' last 8 games of the season, playoffs included, is going to use his speed to make big plays. Marquise Hollywood-Brown is a big play threat. The days of MVS running wind sprints for the Chiefs are over. And maybe the biggest change, Worm, the offensive line It's been a problem for the Chiefs lately, especially the all-important left tackle position. And the Chiefs absolutely stole Josh Simmons at the end of the first round of this year's draft. The best pure tackle in this year's class. He came out of Ohio State with a knee injury that teams were concerned about. Those concerns look like they were completely unfounded. Simmons was ready for camp, and he has looked like a stud. He played 26 pass blocking snaps in the preseason. According to PFF, 0 pressures allowed. So Patrick Mahomes, with his blind side secured and abundant pass-catching weaponry, I think he's a big-time draft value for the first time since his second NFL season way back in 2018.
D-Bro?
This could easily bury me. I will absolutely say this, because the rushing floor that Patrick Mahomes carries and the passing volume that we know is going to be there, I still can't pay a QB6 ADP price tag. Like, I think for everything that Fitzy laid out, and I'm not saying that he's wrong, like, there's a lot of volatility here, and if he bounces back, he's going to absolutely bury me. He's going to be probably like a top 3 option. I'm just still not there, man. Like, Hollywood still can't stay healthy. Rashee Rice is going to miss 6 games this season. Travis Kelce is another year older. Now, yes, I know he got in shape for the engagement photos and the wedding and the upcoming and stuff like that. That still doesn't mean he's going to be able to turn back the hands of time until where he was 30 and elite option. It can help, but it's not going to sit here and change Father Time's estimation of Travis Kelce right now. So, there are a lot of parts or pieces. This could easily bury me. I just can't pay the price tag. I still think he's going to be a low-end QB1.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, there's so much depth at the position that, like, I am totally on board with waiting and getting a McCarthy or a Maye or, a Dak or Love or whoever. But I just wanted to bring it up because I do think he's getting a little overlooked in terms of what the ultimate upside ceiling could be this season with what they've done in the offseason. We have one last question here, guys. Which one player will define the 2025 fantasy season, a la Saquon Barkley and Jamar Chase a year ago? Fitz, who will define this fantasy season?
Brock Bowers.
Oh!
He was just getting started last year. At the end of the season, I am going to demand a formal written apology from D-Bro for ranking Trey McBride ahead of Brock Bowers.
When Trey McBride gets 10 touchdowns, so I will expect yours as well on Fitzy letterhead, okay?
Well, it's not just McBride. It's Kittle also. Both of them are ahead of Bowers for D-Bro.
Yeah. I'm a hater, I guess, man.
All right, so picking a tight end, that is bold, but I love it. I mean, from everything we've literally never seen this guy be anything other than just an elite tight end at every stop of his whole life. So why would that change now? I love the call. D-Bro, who's your player that will define the season?
I mean, Fitzy already kind of made my case for me, man. If Carolina is the NFC of Cincinnati, it's Tetairoa McMillan. I mean, Worm, we've talked about this previously, dude. I tweeted this out, and again, like, shout out to you. We talked about this on previous shows. I know you're riding with me on this one, and I know Fitzy's not far behind. I know we're all in the same party bus here. Tetairoa McMillan could be this year's Malik Neighbors. And if that happens, I don't care if you draft him as a wide receiver 2. If he's a wide receiver 1, he's paying off. If you get him as your wide receiver 3 on teams, he will be one of the players that you had to have to crush in fantasy this year.
I love it, man. You're not getting this on any other show. Picking a tight end and a rookie as our players that will define the season the way Saquon and Chase did. That's what we're bringing to you on this show. I do want to let everybody know, if you've drafted already, you can sync your league instantly to My Playbook to get custom advice on how to manage your team throughout the season. See your league's top available players, power rankings, and more for free. Check the Are They Playing tool each week to get the latest game day availability odds for all injured players. If you're premium, you can unlock all sorts of helpful waiver, trade, lineup, and league analysis tools as well. You can even auto-start your team's optimal lineup each week with Autopilot. Sync your league and dominate every week of the season with My Playbook at fantasypros.com/myplaybook or on the Fantasy Pros app. Try all of My Playbook for free after your draft by claiming your 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. That'll do it for our biggest questions of the 2025 season for Fitz and D-Bro. I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.